In 1997, two men started a company with a singular, almost evangelical mission. Cable television, they believed, was broken. Not just inconvenient, broken. It forced you to pay for 300 channels to watch 4. It interrupted your programs with advertisements you didn't choose and couldn't skip. It decided what was on and when it was on, and if you missed it, that was your problem. The entire model was built around what the network wanted to show you, not what you actually wanted to watch. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph called their company Netflix, and for the better part of 2 decades, it was the most compelling argument in entertainment that the old way of doing things was finished. No advertisements, no contracts, no bundled channels you'd never open. Watch what you want, when you want. Stop whenever you feel like it. The promise was so clean, it barely needed marketing. It sold itself by simply being the opposite of everything people already hated. The idea was so convincing that every major media company on Earth copied it. Disney built Disney+, HBO built Max, Apple built Apple TV+, Amazon bundled Prime Video into its shopping subscription. NBC Universal launched Peacock. Paramount built its own platform. Discovery merged with HBO and rebranded. Within 5 years of Netflix proving the model worked, there were more streaming services than there had ever been cable channels. And here is the part nobody said out loud when it was happening. The average American household, which had been paying around $80 a month for a cable bundle it resented, was now paying for Netflix, Disney+, Max, and Amazon Prime simultaneously, often totaling more than that same cable bill, while spending 20 minutes every evening scrolling between 4 different home screens trying to remember which service had the show they wanted to watch. The cable bundle had not been destroyed. It had been disassembled and sold back to consumers one piece at a time at a higher combined price, with 4 separate logins and 4 separate billing dates. Netflix didn't just disrupt the old model. It accidentally engineered a new version of the same problem it was founded to solve. And then, in 2023, it started looking a little more like cable itself. Password sharing fees, advertising tiers, live sport, price increases on a service that now interrupts you with commercials. By 2024, Netflix had introduced advertisements. By 2025, it was streaming NFL games and WWE wrestling on Friday nights. By 2026, it is raising prices again for a service that now includes advertisements, while reporting that a growing share of its new subscribers are joining specifically on the cheaper ad-supported plan. The company that was founded to destroy the cable bundle has, with remarkable efficiency, rebuilt it. Different logo, same model. And the same question that killed cable is starting to form again, quietly, in the back of millions of subscribers' minds. Is this still worth it? The Golden Age. To understand what Netflix was, you have to remember what watching television felt like before it existed. Sunday night, sometime in 2003, a show you've been following all season reaches its finale. You've arranged your evening around it. You're on the sofa at 8:55 p.m. through obligation rather than choice, because the network decided that 9 p.m. on Sunday was when this story continued, and if you weren't there, it continued without you. Midway through the second act, 4 advertisement breaks interrupt the narrative with the combined subtlety of a car alarm. The episode ends on a cliffhanger. Next week is 7 days away. There is nothing you can do about any of this. This was normal. For decades, it was simply what television was. Netflix's first disruption was modest but quietly revolutionary. In 1997, it mailed DVDs to your door. No late fees, no driving anywhere. A subscription that let you keep movies as long as you wanted. The model was genuinely customer first in a way the video rental industry had never managed, and it ate Blockbuster's lunch slowly and then all at once. But the real disruption came in 2007 when Netflix launched streaming. Suddenly, the DVD was beside the point. The content was already there on demand, accessible in seconds. No disc, no wait, no schedule. And critically, still no advertisements. The decade that followed was, by any measure, one of the most remarkable expansions in entertainment history. Netflix went from a DVD by mail service to a global content studio to a cultural institution. House of Cards in 2013 proved that streaming native prestige television was possible. Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things, The Crown, Squid Game. Each one a global conversation, each one watched on a subscriber's own terms, at their own pace, without interruption. The binge-watching model, which Netflix essentially invented at scale by releasing entire seasons simultaneously, didn't just change how people consume television, it changed what television could be. Storytelling that assumed a patient, attentive audience. Plot complexity that rewarded careful watching. A relationship between show and viewer built on trust rather than appointment. By 2021, Netflix was spending $17 billion a year on content. It had won Academy Awards. Its original productions were competing with, and frequently beating, theatrical releases for audience attention. The stock had risen over 8,000% from its IPO price, and analysts were valuing the company not just as an entertainment platform, but as the infrastructure of a new media era. And then, almost at the moment of maximum cultural dominance, the model started to strain. The structural flaw saw. Netflix's entire value proposition rested on a single elegant trade: pay us a flat monthly fee. In exchange, we will never interrupt you, never lock you in, and never charge you more for watching more. The implicit contract was, we are not cable. We will never be cable. That distinction was not just a marketing position, it was the emotional foundation of why 220 million people had chosen Netflix over every other option available to them. But that contract contained a tension the company could defer for years and ultimately could not escape. Content is expensive, increasingly expensive. And a flat subscription fee in a market where every major competitor, Disney, HBO, Apple, Amazon, was now spending at comparable scale to attract the same finite pool of viewers, would eventually stop generating the margins Wall Street required. The subscriber growth model that had driven Netflix's valuation for 15 years required an ever-expanding base of new customers to justify ever-increasing content spend. By 2022, that expansion had a ceiling. In its first quarter that year, Netflix reported its first net subscriber loss in over a decade, a drop of 200,000 accounts. The stock fell 35% in a single day, wiping over $50 billion in market value in hours. From that moment, the pressure was singular and unambiguous. Growth had to resume, revenue per user had to increase. And the two mechanisms available, advertising and password monetization, were precisely the mechanisms Netflix had spent 25 years defining itself against. The irony was structural, not accidental. Netflix had attracted its audience by being the anti-cable. To satisfy investors, it needed revenue streams that looked remarkably like cables. The very thing that had made it beloved was incompatible with the thing that would make it profitable at the scale the market now demanded: the accelerant. The changes came quickly once the direction was set, and each one carried the particular sting of a promise being unwound in public. Password sharing crackdowns began rolling out in 2023. The logic was defensible. An estimated 100 million households were using accounts they weren't paying for, and converting even a fraction of them to paying subscribers would meaningfully move the revenue needle. And it worked numerically. Netflix added 13 million subscribers in the quarter following the crackdown in the United States. The strategy was, on a spreadsheet, a success. But something else happened alongside the subscriber numbers. The conversation around Netflix changed tone. For years, password sharing had been something Netflix semi-officially tolerated. An executive had publicly described it as a form of brand building as recently as 2017. The practice had become, for millions of users, part of the social texture of the service. You shared your account with your college-age sibling. Your elderly parents watched on your login. The crackdown was rational. It also felt to a meaningful share of the user base like a betrayal of an understood arrangement. The advertising tier arrived in late 2022 and expanded aggressively through 2024. Netflix, the company that had launched with the explicit argument that forcing advertisements on viewers was disrespectful, now offered a cheaper subscription specifically in exchange for showing you advertisements. By 2025, approximately 40% of new Netflix subscribers in available markets were choosing the ad-supported tier, a number the company reported cheerfully as evidence of the tier's success and which simultaneously confirmed that a growing share of its user base was now experiencing a product that looked structurally like cable television. Then came live sport. The NFL Christmas Day games in 2024 represented Netflix's most visible step into territory it had historically treated with visible disdain. Live sport is the last great stronghold of appointment television, the precise model Netflix was founded to replace. You watch it live or you watch it knowing the result. It cannot be paused, banked, and binged on Saturday morning. It exists on a schedule, and in 2025, a deal to stream WWE programming on Friday nights extended the live appointment-based content strategy further, completing a picture that would have been unrecognizable, and arguably unacceptable to the company's founding philosophy. By 2026, Netflix's monthly price for its standard ad-free tier had risen to levels that prompted genuine consumer comparison to cable packages. The ad-supported tier cost less but delivered advertisements. The premium tier cost more for features, primarily 4K and multiple simultaneous streams that once came standard. The bundle had been reconstructed piece by piece with a different name and a more sophisticated interface. The number that changes the question. Netflix in 2026 has approximately 310 million subscribers and a market capitalization of around $430 billion. By the conventional metrics of business success, it remains an extraordinary company. The content budget, the global reach, the brand recognition, all of it remains formidable. But the metric that defined Netflix's identity for 20 years were that clean, elegant, subscriber-first model has been replaced by something more complicated. Revenue per user is now the number that matters most internally. And revenue per user in the streaming business grows fastest through either price increases or advertising. Netflix is now pursuing both simultaneously while also investing in live sport rights that cost billions and deliver the appointment viewing model it was founded to disrupt. Disney+, Max, Apple TV+, Amazon Prime, the streaming landscape Netflix forced into existence is now crowded enough that the average American household subscribes to 4 services and is actively looking for ways to reduce that number. Subscription fatigue is real, measurable, and growing. When the question becomes which services to keep, the answer used to be obvious. Netflix was the default, the one you never canceled. That default status is no longer guaranteed. And in a market where every competitor is spending aggressively on content and pricing competitively, the thing that kept Netflix immune from that calculation, the emotional loyalty of people who believed in what it stood for, is quietly eroding. The verdict. Reed Hastings did something genuinely rare. He built a company that didn't just beat the incumbent. He changed the entire vocabulary of how people related to entertainment. The idea that television should work around you rather than the other way around seems obvious now. In 1997, it was a radical proposition. He was right about it, and he proved it at a scale nobody initially believed was achievable. But Netflix in 2026 is not the company Reed Hastings founded, or the company that sent the first DVD, or the company that launched streaming, or even the company that released Stranger Things. It is a publicly traded entertainment conglomerate optimizing for revenue per user, expanding into advertising, competing for live sports rights, and raising prices on a service that an increasing share of its own subscribers experience with commercial breaks. This is not a scandal. It is not a betrayal in the legal sense. It is simply what happens when a company that was founded on ideology grows large enough that the ideology becomes expensive to maintain. Cable television died because it stopped respecting its audience. It forced them to pay for things they didn't want, interrupted them with things they didn't ask for, and assumed their loyalty was unconditional. Netflix watched that happen. It built its entire identity on being the alternative. And now, with 310 million subscribers and a $430 billion valuation and a Friday night wrestling deal, it is discovering the same thing cable discovered. There is no such thing as an audience whose loyalty is unconditional. The remote has changed. The frustration is exactly the same.